Well, you know the joke about how do you pronounce the capital of Kentucky? Is it Louisville or Louisville?
I know, I don't.
It's Frankfurt.
I'm your host, Jeff Zart. We're going to take you behind the scenes with the craft distillers who are pouring their heart and soul into crafting the next version of America's spirit. This is the Great American Whiskey Cookers. If you've been to a distillery and done a tour, you've seen some really cool copper round pot stills or very tall, shiny copper column stills. But have you ever seen a square still? And not just a historical item, but one that is actually in use. One that was originally designed and built by someone who couldn't even read or write. Check out this episode of Casey Jones Distillery. We're going to introduce you to some moonshine and whiskey history that you have probably never heard.
Welcome to this edition of the Great American Whiskey Cookers. We are here in Western Kentucky at Casey Jones Distillery, and I'm talking with AJ, Peg, and Cody. And we are here in the still room, and I've got the square still behind us and the other pot still behind us. So we've talked a little bit about this. So tell me about this still here, the square still.
So this square still is actually known as the grandfather still. So it's built after my grandfather's design, which was Casey. It's a square style that he did with a condenser, which, you know, he started doing these back in 1930. So this type still was well above his timeline.
Right.
Be building stills with condenser. This particular one we had built with buyers, manufacturers built all the rest of our other still. And it's a steam version, so not fired by gas or propane, and I kind of like that better. It's not a little less risky, you know. But this thing runs great.
And I can see, I mean, there's a handle on the top there. There's a handle here on the side.
Mm-hmm.
And you were talking about the handles are put there so that you could pick it up and walk with it, right? You could take it with you.
Yes.
And you're obviously not going to do that here. I mean, it's a permanent install.
Yeah.
But you had the handles put on.
Yeah.
Why?
Because it's part of his traditional look and style and the things that he was known for, you know.
And you're using this still today.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Is it making all your whiskey or?
We use it to make all of our moonshines with, and then we do it to finish our bourbons in. So if we run through the hybrid still, which you can do a bourbon in a single pass, but if you want to create a different taste to that, we turn around and run it back through the small still.
And so this is a pot still, right?
Yep.
So how many gallons when you make a batch? How many gallons come off of it?
That's a 200 gallon.
200 gallons.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how much you're going to get out of it.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, your usable product off your still is usually like 10 to 14%, something like that.
Right.
Of the actual gallonage, wine gallonage is what you'll get in parts, usable product that you can use going forward.
So let's talk about that. Heads, hearts, tails, right? How do you guys make your cuts?
Well, it's just something
It's a secret.
Taste-wise, and you soon develop a pattern with your product, you know. If everything's going accordingly as planned, it's going to be a pretty precise cut every time. But taste has a lot to do with it.
So you're doing it.
When you're making your cuts to your hearts, you can tell by smell and taste. It's okay now.
Yeah.
And it's not prior to that, you know. And the same thing with the tails. You can tell when you get too much of that. How do I want to put that, though? It's too much.
It gets grainy. And the texture gets off.
And watered down.
Okay.
Yeah, watered down taste as well.
And you can tell the taste difference.
Yeah.
And you've been doing it long enough that you can pick that up, right?
This is actually one of the pieces of the art of craft distilling with a pot still specifically. In a column, you'll have plates that you set. Those plates will actually do the cuts for you. Of course, you have to set it.
Yeah.
But for the pot still, you're actually making your cuts between your heads, hearts, and tails every run. And so you're imparting your skill as a distiller every time you do a run.
Sure.
Pot still.
Very cool. And then you have the bigger pot still over here. How big is this one?
So this is 1,000 gallon.
1,000 gallon. So Which you're making the whiskey on this one? You're making moonshine on this one?
Yes,
Is that
most
right?
of the time it's moonshine, most of the time it's whiskey. We do both, like we run moonshine on this one as well. We're making a moonshine product for somebody else that we ran on both of these.
Because you do some contract distilling.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And just for a little bit further clarification, so the moonshine is actually used to make the clear shine that you would assume to be moonshine, but it's also the product that we use to make our barrel cut products.
Okay.
So the barrel cut being the aged version of that spirit, and that's all coming off of the spirit hot still.
Very cool. You're running 5 days a week, Monday to Friday, regular day shift,
Sometimes weekends.
right?
Sometimes.
Sometimes. And you could run a second shift if you really needed
Yeah.
to, right?
Most certainly. Yeah.
And you're putting up, remind me one more time, how many barrels for you guys are you putting up a week or a month or a year?
So we're doing a little over 2.5 barrels a day.
Right.
So in 3 days, we might be doing, say 8 barrels maybe a week for us
Wait.
right now. Yeah.
So around
Could do
24
more.
barrels a month, give or take,
Yeah.
right? 24, 25 barrels a month. What else do I need to know about these two stills sitting here that I haven't asked you?
Well, obviously the grandfather still, being the showpiece that it is, overshadows the 1,000-gallon, but it is worth discussing just the particularities of this particular still. So this is a traditional 1,000-gallon pot by itself.
Okay.
You'll see that we've got an onion on top of that, a traditional lean arm off of that rolls into this 4-plate column unit here with a defragmenter on top, 4-plate condenser. And then to the right of that is the standalone condenser. Now, this particular setup in some is a hybrid pot setup. Now, some hybrid pots actually will have these plates in the onion.
Really?
And so they're a part of, you see a lot of bend dome stills actually like that. They're part of the actual pot itself. So you, even with the plates open, you're still using the plates. They're having an effect on that spirits. In this particular configuration, we can bypass the 4-plate defragmenter entirely and just go straight to the column and do what's called a stripping run.
Sure.
Or we can turn on the 4-plate column defragmenter and we can redistill in each one of these plates to improve the proof. So in one pass, we can do easily 155 proof bourbon right off the still like that.
One pass we could do 190 proof. That's way above bourbon.
Yeah. We have
So,
bourbon.
yeah.
But you could get into vodka territory with it
Yeah.
if you wanted to.
If you really wanted to.
And this one, like you said, this is off to the side, which makes it easier to clean and maintenance and get to your plates and everything. And it was on top of this pot.
All right, so a question for you. Sweet mash or sour mash? Which one do you use?
We make sweet and sour mash.
Well, hang on. Wait a minute. What do you mean you make sweet and sour? No, back up. Time out. Hang on. Distilleries either do a sweet mash or they do a sour mash. I mean,
On our moonshines, we do a sour mash. On our whiskeys, we do a sweet mash.
okay. All right. That explains. So, you're
And that's
doing
why
both
she said
processes.
sweet and sour.
Yeah, I mean, there's a big difference, right?
Yeah, big difference. Yeah.
So your moonshine, you're doing a sour mash. Your whiskeys, you're doing a sweet mash. You're starting every single time with that sweet mash, right?
Right.
That's interesting. You're doing both of those. I don't think I've heard of many distilleries doing that.
Doing both of them. Yeah.
How difficult is that to maintain?
Well, if you have to stop for a long period, then you've got to get that sour mash started back up again. It takes a little bit of process when that happens. But if you're doing distilling every day, every week, it's not an issue to happen. So
Very cool. Interesting. I did not expect that. They do both sweet and sour mash. That's great. And your answer, yeah, you just like tripping me up. I know that's what's going on now. I can see
It'll
it.
be your turn. You can see if you can trip me up.
I can see it in your eyes.
Yeah.
I should have known this from the get-go.
Yes, absolutely.
I will tell you one thing about this whole distillery process. We spent a lot of time up front looking at equipment, talking about equipment, laying out the space, and tried to make everything flow like it needs to, from the corn to the mash cooker to the fermenter, to be able to do it without as many people. So if somebody is missing, you can still do your production. Gavin, who does most of the fermentation now, half a day, you know.
Really?
He's done, you know. He can do whatever else we need done, spend time cook. A lot of times he jumps over on the still for half a day, you know. And so he's now learned the distillation process. So has my maintenance guy, and so has my grandson. They've all been taught the distillation process now too.
So how many employees do you have there?
In the production side, we have, one part-time, 3 days a week. And then we have four guys. Four, including my grandson.
Well, and then
These two here.
Yeah.
these two, yeah. But I guess they don't.
But do they actually work?
Well,
No, never day not.
Where do they
I wouldn't call it work.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Whiskey, right?
fun, right.
So where do they find it? How do they get in touch with you?
Yeah, so you can reach us at CaseyJonesDistillery.com. That's our website. We've got a newsletter you can sign up for there. We're on Twitter, we're on TikTok, we're on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube.
Fantastic. Guys, thank you. I appreciate showing us the stills and everything that's going on here and the intricacies of running the still. Super fun. You can find us at thegreatamericanwhiskeycookers.com, all the socials, obviously. And if you really want to, you can go to our Patreon site, become a member, and show us some love. Till next time, yeah, be good at it.